I have no doubt that if it weren't for technology, the Welsh language wouldn't be alive because it was officially banned by law in 1536. It's only because of the technology of the printing press and the translation of the Bible that the language became the language of the community, language of religion, and has kept the language in a vibrant state. And now, of course, we are facing a new challenge, but I think the language is up to that challenge in terms of the use of technology.
And of course, language technology is important for all languages that want to survive and thrive in Europe. So the challenge is to devise ways to include all languages in Europe. That's the only way we can keep the multilingual Europe alive. Yes, it means that if you don't use a language, if you don't speak a language, then it's dead. If you don't transfer language use into platforms where most languages are, then also I think the language is in fear of dying. So it's a question of survival for each language. You need to cope with new technology.
Well, with the use of technology, and I think in terms of knowledge and the transfer of knowledge and the thirst for knowledge that's becoming more apparent, and also the platforms to obtain knowledge, they're all linked to languages. And as we have, I think, is it nearly 250 languages across the wider Europe, you can see that all those languages have a need. And all those languages, if they're going to survive, need to be part of that digital age. And I think most probably if we're not part of that, then these languages won't survive. It'll boil down to maybe half a dozen languages who survive. So it's survival time. And as Welsh survived 4 centuries ago through technology, these languages need to be linked into that. So we're looking at issues, I think, such as making translation something which is affordable. And really, it's only through technology we can do that. And if we have the tools and the ability, for example, to, when you can shout at your kettle in English and say, boil, that you can do the same thing in Welsh. Well, to get to that point, you need to have a lot of technology. You need to have looked at your language in a very specific way and ensure that that's wired in to any new developments in terms of language usage.
And the idea that came up today about looking at a platform which could include many languages, that could raise the starting point of language technology tools for also the smaller language, I think it's a very interesting path forward.
The challenge for Europe, I think, is that we need to get out from this mindset of only having 24 official languages of the European Union. We're very much stuck into that, and certainly the European Commission is very stuck into that. We need to see the wealth we have of languages and to look at the technology and to develop the platform so that everybody can plug into that resource. So the resource is a shared resource and a shared development. I think what you'll find in minority language communities is there's a lot of interest, a lot of energy, a lot of appetite for doing something about this. And it may not be commercial, but it certainly can feed into a system to make sure you have that resource available and it can be shared. But some of these communities are so small, they need some help. So at least we can share and we can help each other.
And additionally, I think from a democracy perspective, that you are able to participate in democracy situations through your own language, using language technology, will also benefit the democratic participation throughout Europe.
There's also one other perspective. It's the perspective of young people, that unless our languages are linked to technology, and young people are more linked into technology than the population in general, as we all know, unless you have that link, your language is just not going to be transferred within the family context. So it's not going to survive anyway. So it's not just technology, and it's not just a platform, it's making it attractive. And attractive specifically to young people, and using technology through language, through films, through anything like that is going to ensure it's either its survival, or if it doesn't exist, its death. Well, both aspects
Yeah.
come into this. It's the driver from the system in terms of legislation and structures and provision by the public sector, but also it's the desire. It's something that people, if they choose to use a language, it'll survive. And that element of choice needs to be a very broad choice.